Rock Bottom is the feature film. It's a single location, great thriller. Before we start, Kevin, you said you wanted to thank somebody before we start the talk.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wrote this screenplay. It took me about 2 weeks to write the first draft. I gave it to a good friend of mine. She's a film director. I've known her for almost 10 years now, and she really liked the script. She asked me a question, though. She said, "Hey, Kevin, what do you think about changing the main character from a guy to a color or to a woman of color?"
Yeah.
And I was like, I balked at that because, the main character was, of course, based on, me. And I'm a guy and I understand men better than women. And I just, I balked at her feedback right away, but it sort of percolated. It stayed with me. And then I went ahead and rewrote it with a woman of color as the lead. And it opened up a lot more dramatic lines that I could work with. It also made, I think, the relationship between her and her child more interesting as well. So I rewrote it that way. And yeah, because of that, I was able to enter it into this feedback
Wow,
festival.
that's such an interesting story that so first of all, give people the pitch. What's this thriller about?
All right, so it's called Rock Bottom. The main character is a career criminal.
Yeah.
She's in her late 40s, and excuse me. So the screenplay starts, and she's running through the woods, being chased by armed men. She falls down a hill, and as she falls down this hill, a boulder, she dislodges a boulder, and it flips over and lands on her legs, crushing her legs. So that's our single location. The entire screenplay, the entire film takes place right there with her under the rock. The armed men are looking for her.
Yeah.
They can't find her. So the only thing she has is half of a power bar, a gun, and her cell phone. And so she's trying to call for help. Of course, she can't tell them exactly where she is. At the same time, her teenage son wants to follow in her footsteps and be a criminal. And she doesn't want that. So she's trying to convince him to make better decisions. She's also trying to hide from the guys that are trying to kill her. And she's trying to figure out who set her up in the first place. And so, yeah,
So Rock Bottom has a double or triple meaning, I guess.
yes, yes, absolutely.
So in terms of like, are we seeing flashbacks of like, or
No,
just all like her? And then,
no, I mean, when I first wrote this script, well, this version in the woods, I wanted it to be all with her because I viewed this as a challenge to write, and I didn't want to like take a shortcut and have a flashback to where she was before, or cut away to the son's apartment, or cut away um, to her handler's
yeah.
place. It's all in that one location. And it certainly provided me with some challenges, but I think I got some more interesting things out of it. I have an action sequence between her and one of the thugs, but she ends up shooting the thug, so he can't walk, and they're on opposite sides of this boulder. So it's kind of humorous. I mean, neither one of these people can move, right? And they're throwing rocks over this boulder at each other. And it's kind of funny, but also if you think about it, it's devastating that these two people, neither one can get away, and yet they both want to kill the other. You know,
So in terms of like it's an interesting story. So when your friend gave you the suggestion and you kind of like started rewriting it from that point of view, did you have any struggles or like did a lot change just by changing the gender?
yeah, a lot did change. And I don't think I had any struggles. I mean, the way I write, I run a lot, I bike a lot, and so that's where things sort of percolate for me. I work out things in my head. I have this watch now that I can do voice memos into, which is great because I don't have to stop running to like record a thought. Um, no, I figure it all out in my head, and then when I get set down and start writing, then it all just sort of comes together.
I like that. You're like running, you're painting a little bit, and you got something pops up because you're kind of with your Zen, you're kind of with yourself. I understand that concept. And you're just
Yeah,
like this, and you're like you go into your wrist and you kind of talk to your wrist and come up with ideas.
yeah. I mean, and I do it all the time. I have a 45-minute long commute each way. So I'll also talk into the phone when or to my watch when I'm driving.
Yeah.
And I do that for a couple days, and then I'll type them all up into a Word file or whatever. But right away I can tell which ones was I running or driving. Am I panting? Like, okay,
Yeah.
so at this point she's got to, But yeah, I mean, that's always worked for me. Exercise, I don't know if it's something physical to get the blood flowing, you get more
Sure.
blood into the brain, and so the creative neurons are shooting better.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it works for me.
Well, so funny. I was just talking about this morning that it's a balance of the psyche, right? Like there's the emotional, the spiritual, the physical, which is your exercise, and then the intellectual, right? They all got to be like, not to sound corny, but they all got to kind of flow as an equal thing. So then, of course, you get more creative ideas when you're physically kind of like taking care of your body, right? So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like a finely tuned car. I mean, you get
yeah.
all the pieces moving along, that then it's moving along at a nice pace.
We are like I always think the best when I'm in better shape, right? So like I know I do. I see that when I sleep better, you know what I mean? I just like I
Yeah, yeah.
sleeping, it's like a kind of like a pattern of like this thing leads to that, right? So if you're not taking care of yourself, it kind of these things kind of crumble. You don't sleep as well. You're more tired during the day, blah blah blah, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you're familiar with the artist's way.
yeah, sure.
Okay, and I mean that's the whole thing about her morning pages.
Yeah.
You write them as soon as you wake up, and nothing is in your head. It's just because if you do it at the end of the day, then maybe you're really influenced by something that happened at your job or an interaction with a stranger at a coffee shop. It's
Yeah.
yeah. And I love running in the morning because that's when things are the freshest.
All right, so this is like so this is done this is kind of written in a sense from a practical standpoint where it can be made into a film that won't cost that much money, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's single location.
Yeah.
Producers love that, right?
Yeah.
Um, I
If
mean,
it's
the only
done
thing about
well. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the only thing production wise, budget wise, I have a couple animals in it. I have a tree that falls over.
Yeah.
But again, it's not like, it's not Tom Cruise jumping off the side of a building.
So ideally, I'm assuming you thought of this in your head. Who would you like if in the ideal world, who would you cast in this role?
Well, I've always been a fan of Michelle Yeoh. Um, and I'm really glad that she won the Oscar for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and like that performance there, she's been a martial artist for how long? But then to have those scenes where she pretends to be a bad fighter. I mean, how hard must that be? That you've trained to do something for 40 years and now you have to do it poorly,
Yeah.
And besides all the physical stuff in that movie, the emotions that she carries throughout that film, I mean, it just yeah, that would be the dream casting for this.
It's like Jennifer Hudson trying to sing bad, I guess, right? Like it's
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it's got to be a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you kind that's you kind of see like kind of like that and it's giving her that I'm saying it ideally like but it's giving it's a dream role for an actress to kind of work on that dark side, right? That kind of like maybe
Yeah,
something they've never done before, right? So
yeah,
it's a flawed character. It's not like it's very it's someone who has an emotional arc, but it's like it starts in a bad place, I guess.
yeah, and it's I mean, the actress is going to be so limited because for the entirety of the movie, except for the first half of the first scene, she's under a rock,
Yeah.
and that was one of the challenges in writing this as well. It's like, how do you convey so much with a character that is stuck in a single place?
So you read it in the blog interview. It said you kind of got the idea like over a decade ago, and you first had it set in an office building, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. I apologize.
Yeah, I had set it in an office building and it just wasn't working. I was trying to do too much and I was struggling with it and I kept coming back to it, trying to rewrite stuff, and nothing worked. And then I finally put it on a shelf. And I don't know, that was maybe 8 years ago or so. And then in 2021, July of 2021, I quit my job and I took a year off to write. And I was going to work on something different, but I wanted to sort of warm up first, right? And so
Yeah.
I went back to this idea, and I'm like, okay, it's not working. What can I do? What is the most extreme thing I can do to this idea to sort of change everything about it? And I'm like, all right, it's in an office building. Let's just put it out in the woods and see what happens. And boom, I had the first draft within 2 weeks. A couple rewrites, got feedback from a few people, and then yeah, here we are.
Gotcha. And so you've been writing screenplays for a long time, right? Like that's sort of, is it a hobby? Is it something that you just kind of keep doing? Like, I'm just curious.
Well, I would love to support myself on my
Sure.
writing.
Yeah.
I wrote my first screenplay in I guess 1987, 1988. And then yeah, I mean, I've still been writing screenplays. I got my MFA from the American Film Institute in 2005. I've gotten hired for a couple of rewrite jobs, original work. I optioned a screenplay of mine twice. Um, there's a short film on Amazon that I wrote. So I'm still out there sort of trying and everything. But the real joy for me is the writing process,
Mhm.
which I love. So yeah, I mean, if Rock Bottom is the one that's gonna enable me to start my career as a screenwriter, then fantastic.
So for me, a lot of the great scripts, a lot of the great writing comes from a strong theme, right? Of course, the
Mhm.
plot needs to be sound, nice characters, but it's got to be about something, not to sound corny again, but your film's about, your script's not just a thriller about this criminal who's like stuck under a rock. There's something there. There's something underlying that's happening, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, and the theme of the script is it's all about the decisions that we make and the repercussions of those decisions and how they affect others.
Yeah.
I mean, the big emotional spine of this story is her and her son who wants to follow in her footsteps. And so she and her sister came over to the country illegally when they were teenagers, um, and she got pregnant while her sister ended up getting a green card. And so when she gave birth, they agreed to tell this to have the legal sister raise the son as her own. So they never told the son who his birth mother is.
Mhm.
Um, and so as she's under the rock contemplating, am I going to get out of here? She's like, I want to tell my son that he is my son. And she's struggling with this. And she's talking to the sister on the cell phone as well and talking to the son. But that's a decision. I mean, that was a decision that they made, you know, 18 years ago or whenever. The decision for her to become a criminal because she needed money quickly when she was that young. And then it was easy money. But she was unable to get legal status in the country because she was working as a criminal. I mean, that's another decision that she made that she's contemplating right now. And in the screenplay, there's other little things as well that have repercussions of the decisions that they make.
Yeah, it's like a domino effect of they I'm assuming that in the script it's like they have the sister raise her because they think that's for best for the kid, right?
Right.
And when you're desperate or you're kind of feeling down, being a criminal, it's like, oh, I can do this and make some quick money, and then oh, it's easy, and then it's almost like an addiction. It's like, oh, I can keep doing this, and then 10, 15 years go by and you're still in that position, I guess, right?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's also, about the interconnectedness of everything as well. Kind of like we talked about with creativity. You got all the pieces working, then everything works fine.
So you did say in the beginning that of our talk is that originally this character is based on you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think every writer does that, right?
Yeah.
Your main character always starts with a point that it's based on you and
I was
whatever.
gonna say, are you a career criminal, or do you want to?
No, no, no.
Okay.
No, it was based. The part that I really based on me was the emotional through line of it,
Gotcha.
and like the main character doesn't want uh, the son to follow in her footsteps, and the opposite was true for me. When I was the kid's age, my father, I said, "Hey, I want to be a writer." My
Yeah.
father said, "No, you're going to be an engineer," and we had some arguments about that. Um, and I mean, we've more or less resolved that situation. I think he's realized that I am going to be a writer, and that's what I'm working on. But yeah, I mean, that's sort of, when I wrote this, it was very cathartic for me to sort of write from the point of view of the parent. Because when I went through it, I was the kid, and this is what I want to be. And I wasn't listening to, because my dad really wanted the best for me. And whether he thought being a writer was not the best for me because it's a hard career to follow,
Mhm.
I don't know. But yeah, that's where the whole thing that was based on me was. And of course, almost everything I write, I start with a male main character.
Gotcha. Well, that's a very kind of common situation where someone from our generation or your generation, where like someone's coming out of the war, all these factors like immigration, whatever, and they just want the best for their kid, and they see that art being an artist is unbalanced, right? They want consistency,
Yeah,
they want like that constant paycheck, etc. Right? So
yeah. With a company that has a pension plan
yeah,
or
yeah,
401k built in or whatever, and health insurance is there. Yeah,
yeah. I think I was like, no, I'm not doing that to my parents. It's like I'm not going to live very long if I do that. So, which is true.
yeah,
So, but it's I get it though because I think the parents, it's like nothing's black and white. Like your dad's probably thinking he's doing what's best for you, right? In the long
yeah.
run. Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
But so fucking zen that I just saw that I saw your coffee cup there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't bring it into the office. I use that coffee cup at work.
Gotcha. Well,
I mean, I use the coffee cup at home. I
yeah,
don't
here you
bring
go.
it.
Got the cup of home. And what's the painting behind your shoulder? Since we're going to do the aesthetics of your podcast.
Painting behind. Oh, so this one right here is just a map of.
The other one I was kind of referencing.
Oh, okay, that's actually a movie poster of past lives.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Favorite movie?
I'm sorry.
Favorite movie?
I love Past Lives. I mean, it was a great movie. And I would love to have dinner with the two of them because the writer director of that is married to the guy who wrote Challengers and Queer.
Yeah.
Um, but my favorite movie,
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I mean, there are movies that I absolutely love. Interstellar, if that's ever on the big screen, I change my plans to go see it because that is a fantastic film, and I love seeing it on the big screen. Everything Everywhere All at Once. I love that movie.
Yeah.
I actually just a couple weeks ago, I went to the laundromat where it was filmed, and
Where
it's
was the
it's
film? What city?
I don't know the name of the neighborhood. It was filmed in L.A. and it's
Okay.
kind of
Yeah.
where the 118 and the 210 meet.
Okay.
Um, and it's a perfect film location because the laundromats, it's an ordinary looking laundromat, but
Yeah.
the streets there are really wide and it's kind of industrial. So you can park all kinds of trucks there without having to deal with,
Practical. Yeah.
yeah. But it was great. I walk in there and I didn't have a laundry bag or anything. So the guy that's working there, he comes up to me. He's like, "You're here because of the movie?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he shows me around and he's
Yeah.
like, "This is the door to the upstairs." And he was, it was great. I
Oh, they
love going.
shot like the apartment and everything there.
Well, I don't know where they shot the apartment because
I'm assuming they
laundromat.
did that in a studio because
Yeah,
there's so much art direction, right? But yeah, but it's
yeah,
cool.
and
So
yeah,
that
yeah, no.
that that laundromat must be doing well then.
Well, so that's not the only thing that it's been shot in. There was also a Super Bowl commercial that they shot there,
Okay.
and a bunch of other stuff. And like I said, I think it's because there's so much easy parking spaces. It's
Yeah.
just really nice for a production to like spread out and sit down and do what they need to do.
But it's got that kind of rusty, kind of like this thing has been around for a while, kind of aesthetic too, too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, kind of like it was remodeled in the 70s and it's been kept up well, but
yeah.
could stand to do something else.
Well, those 24-hour places, they're tough to remodel because they're always constantly like
Hmm.
being worked used, right? And it's hard to like kind of like in there, and it's a coin, it's a cash business, right? It's not like they're making
Yeah.
millions, right? So it's like it must be a tough racket being owning a laundromat.
Yeah, I've never thought about it.
Yeah.
Maybe I should ask my dad if that's a career I should go into. Open a 24-hour laundromat.
No. Well, then again, anyways, all right. So basically, so you've written a lot of scripts, and
Mhm.
you talked about you referenced the Canadian film. I'm Canadian, the film Cube,
Oh,
which was a huge hit, right?
yeah.
And then there's the one Franco, right? Based on true story where he was stuck for a few days. I was thinking about that film as well, right?
127 hours. Yeah.
127 hours, yeah. So there's that reference point, but then this one, like I think that it is better that it's a female. It kind of stands out in a sense, right? So
Yeah. And so in the single location genre, I don't know if it's a genre, but in that genre of films, there's also a great film called Lock.
yeah,
And it's Tom Hardy, who's a great actor.
yeah.
And the movie opens, he walks to his car, he takes off his shoes and pulls a pair of shoes out of his trunk, and then he gets in the car. And for the next 90 minutes, he's in the car driving, talking on his cell phone, and he's dealing with a work situation and a personal situation. His mistress is pregnant, giving birth that night, but he's still married.
Mhm.
Um, and so, the two different storylines, I have that in mind in my script. But then also I mean, how many actors can carry off an entire film when you are staring at them and they are driving for the entire film? I mean,
Yeah,
that is so limiting. I mean, he can't suddenly break out and dance. He can't, it's all facial expressions and tone and everything. Um, so yeah, Locke was a huge. I think Locke is probably the best single location film.
Mhm.
I wouldn't call it a thriller; it's more of a drama. Um, but yeah, I've seen far too many of these single location movies.
Yeah. What was the one with oh my God, he was in a phone booth. Yeah, it's called Phone Booth, right?
Yeah, phone. Well, there's a Stephen King one called Cell,
Yeah.
and I think is he in the phone booth?
It's Colin Farrell is in a phone booth and he can't, and then Keith Sutherland's the voiceover, and he can't get out of the phone booth because if he does, his Dwight, I don't know, someone's gonna die or something like that.
Okay,
So, and then
yeah, yeah, that's another
it's
one.
staged in Manhattan, everybody's coming after him, and he can't get off the
Yeah,
phone, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Did you see that one? That one's pretty interesting.
Have I seen that one? I don't think
Yeah.
I've seen
Joel
that one.
Schumacher directed that one. Like I think
Okay.
it was like an $8 million budget, and I think most of it went to the actors. But yeah, that's an interesting one to check out.
Yeah.
It's so intense. It is a thriller, right? It's like everything's that is thrown at you like crazy. Conflicts all the time, right? So yeah,
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
yeah. It's like a gimmick.
Oh,
It's like a gimmick movie, right? Like I call it the gimmick movies, where it's like it's the situation that sets it up, right? Like
right.
yeah. So
Well,
yeah,
the good gimmick movies are the ones that uh, go
of
beyond the
course.
gimmick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
yeah,
I mean. But it's like, of course, that's if it's just, but everybody, it's a starting point, right? It's a
yeah,
setup. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And you got it, but it's all about the writing, right? It has to be good writing, right? So, and
Yeah, and then the directing and the acting and everything else
sure,
that
yeah, of
the
course.
writing is just a solid starting point.
Yeah, but I mean that like it doesn't
Yeah.
get anywhere if the script's not strong, if it's one location.
Right, absolutely.
And then the director's got to figure out, okay, how am I going to make this visually interesting, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's another single location film called Coherence.
Yeah.
Have you seen this or
Yeah.
heard of this?
Yeah.
Okay. that was great.
Yeah.
And I went to a Q&A with the writer director and the lead actress, and that was pretty much improv. Because the writer director would just give the cast notes, like he had a general idea of where they were going, and every night they would show up for the shoot, he would give them notes, and he said things like, at some point tonight you'll be cold, and he knew this actress so well that he knew she would make the choice to go into the closet and get a jacket as opposed to change the thermostat, and there was something in the closet for her to discover.
Mhm.
I thought that was fascinating to know your cast that well that they're going to make a certain decision to further the movie.
Yeah. So then you're hoping to get this like seen by somebody and obviously get it out there and get a shot. Eventually, that's your kind of dream scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm on Coverfly with it, and it's I think it's top 10%. It's in a couple competitions right now.
Yeah.
My friend that gave me that feedback, she's interested in directing it, but we would have to raise the money.
Yeah.
Of course, it's easier if it's if a director's attached to a script as opposed to just me with the script running around. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll email you in a couple months, say, hey, good news, check this out.
Yeah.
It's getting produced.
I love to see that. All right.
So
On that note, congratulations on the script. Congratulations on everything. We were honored to help do the best scene of you. And let's talk again when either the film's made or we showcase
okay.
your scripts again.
All right, great. Well, thank you for talking to me. I enjoyed this.
Thank you.